Welcome. How fun is this? Gosh, we are so excited to be here. We're just gonna get a quick welcome to all of it, and I'm gonna kick it off. So here I go. You guys, what a year this has been. On February 27 of this year, my wife gave birth to our third child. Our room had this big red X on the door. And it's because I had been to South Korea just a couple weeks earlier. And the pandemic was just beginning and there was a lot of confusion and fear. At the time, there were only 6 cases in the United States, and all 6 of them were about a 20 or 30-minute drive from our hospital room. Only 13 days later, we would announce that for the first time in 70 years, Camel's Restaurant would be closing its dining room indefinitely. I remember I called Will and I said, Will, I think the world is changing. I think Camel's is going to do something crazy and try some weird pivot. And he said, yeah, I think you're crazy. He didn't believe me at all. And maybe he was right, but he was wrong when it came to how much the world was changing. Gosh, we had no idea what was coming. It was scary. It was deeply sad. It was so confusing. And it was really, really hard to be a restaurant and to run a business. In March, I think Camel's lost more money in a single month than in any other time in our history. And twice since then, we've broken that record. But you know what's awesome? We didn't give up, and neither have y'all. This whole industry fights. Like, we're bloodied and we're bruised, but restaurants across America, we continue to do the most astounding things with the biggest of hearts, right? I think of Edward Lee and Lindsay Ofsasek, who created the Lee Initiative, Chris Shepard, and the whole team from Southern Smoke. Have you guys followed what's going on there? It's insane. Of course, Jose Andres, and World Central Kitchen. And then the IRC, if you're not following along with what the Independent Restaurant Coalition is doing, it's unreal. All these restaurateurs gathered together to lobby Congress to fight for financial help from our government. And they just got the Restaurant Act passed. I can speak, in the House. Like, that's just astounding. It's astounding. And then, up here in Seattle, we're looking also at the rest of the country and seeing all the creativity and all the pivots and all the partnerships and all the collaborations, right? I think of Sean Feeney and Missy Robbins and all they've done with Missy Pasta. Just down south of us in Portland, you should follow the Clyde Commons story and their whole transition. Caleb, up in upstate New York, he's got this supernatural lake pop-up. It's so cool. Stephanie Izard, gosh, what she's doing in Chicago with Kevin and Little Girl Grocery. You guys, my head turns when I think of all the creativity and all the passion. Really, it's inspiring. And it leaves me with this thought that there's never been a more difficult time, a more challenging time to be in the restaurant industry. I've also never been so proud to be in the restaurant industry. And it means that I can't think of a better time possible to start this conference.
Thanks, Brian. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Man, it's been an emotional roller coaster. There's been some relatively normal days and some bizarre days. And I'll tell you, as soon as I clicked start webinar, it started to feel like a really bizarre day again, because this is not how we envisioned the Welcome Conference to be in 2020. We had so many plans for this year. But most of all, just this one moment that the 3 of us share together on stage walking out is one of the most special ones throughout the year. And just seeing it now in the 2 of the boys being up next to me on the screen is just bizarre, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Like, it's been physically, emotionally, and spiritually just exhausting. And for the last 7 years, this conference has been a bright spot, in the year for me to really fill my tank and go at everything with full gusto. And there were moments where we imagined that possibly it wouldn't exist this year because there just wouldn't be a place to bring people together. And look, we've designed dozens and dozens and dozens of iterations of ways to bring us all together for a moment. But we realized a moment wasn't enough. And so we set out on a different path to accomplish two different goals. First, to be together longer. We're nowhere out of the woods yet, and we know a day of welcome in normal times is probably okay. But in these days, maybe not, for us especially. And the second thing was to be there for you when it's best for you. And so we set out on designing this platform and this community. And frankly, it's been an idea that we've talked about for the last few years and that I've brought up to really accomplish over and over again, of creating our own private portal where the content can be shared and you guys can all engage with each other. And over, it just wasn't on the top of priorities as it was for bringing an amazing experience in person. And finally, here we were a few months ago, and I said, what about this platform? We can be together longer, and you guys can come and engage with it on your own time. And so here we are. It's a pretty straightforward experience. You have two different areas when you go in, and more than anything, take your time, explore. Everything will live there. You can come and go on your own time. There's the main network where all of the welcome content will come through. Think of that as the auditorium in the main stage. The keynotes, the speeches, the written pieces. We're certainly able to play with different types of content now. And then there's the lobby, which is really your place. And in many ways, your stage, where you can post and share and interact and meet and connect. We'll be here all throughout the way, each of us as individuals, and then at Welcome Conference, and support for you if you need help with anything. So just reach out, we'll be there. And most importantly, have fun. Look, Welcome exists to be a counterweight to all the negative forces going on in the world. And for us, our work has never been more important than ever. And so enjoy the platform, reach out to us. We're here for you. And I just want to say, there was a third thing, which was to make it readily accessible for everybody, because all of us are struggling. And so we couldn't have done that without American Express, Resi, and San Pellegrino, who in the face of uncertainty with Welcome Conference stepped up and really helped us put this all together. I'm excited for everything that's to come. There's a ton coming out over the next 5 months, and Will is gonna take you through a little bit of it just to give you a snapshot. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks, Anthony. And welcome. We're really excited to be here. And to Brian's point, yes, he did call me in February. And I did think he was crazy. And Brian, in front of everyone, you were right. And I was wrong. Yeah, let's talk about the next 5 months, because over these next 5 months, we're going to be tackling the theme of reinvention. Because I think we can all agree that there is a need right now to reinvent our industry. You can also look at it through a different lens, though. Because, I mean, never before has our industry been stopped so dead in our tracks. And so we have an opportunity right now, unlike one we've ever had before, to reinvent. I mean, just look at the world around us right now, whether it's our collective attempt to recover from the pandemic, whether it's all of us realizing that we need to evolve our business model because it's never been so clear that it's as vulnerable as it is than right now, whether it's the political divide, or whether it's our collective reckoning with the underlying systemic racism that has existed for far too long. We have a lot of work to do. And we're going to try to do it here together. And so within that theme of reinvention, we're going to be digging into some sub-themes in each month, things that we feel if we embrace, if we really lean into, they will not only allow us to survive this season, but thrive on the other side of it. I'm going to tell you about them. In November, we're going to be talking about collaboration, because that word feels so important right now. Whether it's what we've already shown, what Brian talked about a little bit before, but I found that when we collaborate, not just with our own teams, but with the entire industry, and we think not just as a single restaurant, but as an entire community, we are stronger and we can accomplish more. Also, perhaps even more importantly, the power and the importance of collaborating with every single person on our team. Because we need to collectively embrace the entire brain power of every individual we work with. It's going to be the weirdest and most random idea that allows us to succeed right now. And we need to be giving people permission to come to us with those ideas, and also be putting ourselves in a place where we're open to listening to them. In December, we're going to talk about vulnerability. I mean, listen, all of us know about the power of vulnerability in serving others, but right now, there's always been this thing in our industry where every single restaurateur or chef tries to present themselves or the restaurant they're running as perfect, right? There's no problems, we got it figured out. And right now, that's just not the way to do it. If we're open with our struggles such that we can create community around working together to solve them, we will all be more successful together. Not to mention that as leaders, there's no more playbook. We're not going to have all the answers. And if we go to our teams and present ourselves as not knowing the answers, are vulnerable in the fact that we need to work through these things together, we'll be more trusted and we'll be more capable of leading. In January, we're going to talk about attachment, about the idea that we need to not be attached to how we were doing things before, so that we can actually learn to do them differently in the future. And then in February, we're going to talk about coaching, because man, it is so much easier to be a good coach when things are going well than it is when they're not. It is so much easier to maintain your morale when things are going well than it is when you're not. And so we're going to lean into how we can all be the best coaches we can possibly be. But this month, in October, we're going to start with grit. And over the coming month, you're going to hear a lot of different amazing people define what that word means to them. To me, grit means finding the power and the energy to keep on pushing, even on the days where you feel your gas tank is empty. But maybe for us, I mean, listen, the restaurant industry, we've always had grit. And so perhaps this month is just about putting intention to intuition, about finding the words to articulate what we have inside of us such that we can unleash it and use it to our collective benefit. And so over the coming weeks and beyond, we're going to start posting a bunch of content. The podcast, we're going to be doing industry roundtables, keynote speeches, virtual pre-shifts, all of which, to be clear, you can watch on your own time. There will be things that are live, but even those you can check in on later. To Anthony's point, we want to make this platform something where you can interact with it when you have the time to do so. And this month, we're going to be featuring people like Gabe Stuhlman, Roy Choi, Nina Compton, Jenny Britton Bauer, Victoria Freeman, Moonlin Sai, Eduardo Jordan, Alan Mullally, and so many more amazing people. The first thing we're going to do today is send out a spiel on what's to come. It's going to include a brief piece from us about what grit means to us. It's going to have a list of upcoming content. And then already on the platform is a grit test from Angela Duckworth that we should all probably take right now. And then tomorrow, our first keynote with Michael Crossland, whose story is so unbelievably inspiring And we hope you connect with it as much as we did. And the other thing, to echo a point that Anthony made, we could have just taken all this content and put it online. But we set up this platform in pursuit of community, to create a safe space where there's always going to be a group of people who can help you answer questions, you can share ideas with, or who you can just vent with in pursuit of catharsis. I've had that with groups of friends and peers around the industry or through the Independent Restaurant Coalition. And I'll tell you what, it's meant the world to me. And so I hope this platform gives a little bit of that to all of you as well. And then again, another mention of gratitude for our sponsors, American Express, Resi, and San Pellegrino. We do not take your generosity for granted, because this would not exist this year without you. Guys, we've been spending a lot of time trying to figure out what we could do this year, and this is it. And it's going to evolve. We're open to feedback. We hope you'll share ideas if you have them. But most of all, we're just so excited for all of us to be together again. Welcome back to the Welcome Conference.